Hey guys, welcome back to RavenHawkTech. Going to be trying some new things here, especially since we're under quarantine and trying to do well, not really quarantine fully, I guess, but distancing. I keep forgetting the stupid terminology.
Social
Social
distancing.
distancing. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so out of my friends and people that I know, you're pretty much the go-to person when it comes to cryptocurrency. And since the way that things have been, just like the market actually has gone down in general.
Yep.
I've noticed huge fluctuations in the crypto market, and some are saying, of course, that uh, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies or the altcoins have basically not proven to be as disaster proof as people think they're to be. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, Bitcoin is definitely a strange asset. Nobody really understands it. But what, from my understanding, is that it is not backed by gold, but by a commodity of human interest. Right now, the interest is not there because everybody's stuck in their home, not able to trade it. So if you think about it in the long term, it's going to be doing well and it's going to fluctuate just like it always has for the last 10 years. So
Real
it's
quick
not going to,
though, you said that people can't trade it, but I mean it's digital.
yes, but it's still a tradable asset, as in you can trade it online. But the end goal for it to actually climb in a price is for the user to be able to physically trade it in person. So that way you don't have to, use cash or anything else as your currency. So that's where we're losing right now, is because it's not being traded as in human to human without a exchange. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So so it's really hard to say that we're doing bad because right now we're not trading, and that's the end that we have right now.
Okay, and I was hearing some stuff. I was listening to PBR and some of the other stations and stuff. And early on during this whole thing, when China was on more of a lockdown and things like that originally, which of course they still are, but there was a lot of miners that were tied into the power grid and stuff for the factories. So when these factories are closing, apparently some of the bigger miners they couldn't even get to their facilities. Did you hear
Mhm.
anything about that?
I did, but it's just speculative right now because what's happened is they overgrossed on mining equipment. They spent too much money in getting this new equipment, and they put the equipment in a spot to where they're losing power. They're shutting factories, and that's one thing why some of the hash rate went down, but it's still a consistent hash rate at the moment for mining. So everybody's really not losing right now. They're actually gaining because the price is so low. But in the future, whenever it halves, that's where an issue is going to be. Mid to early May.
Speaking of which, can you explain halving? So basically, as far as I know that like there's only so many bitcoins that can be generated, and they do this every so often to basically, I guess, what, get more room, or what exactly is halving do?
Halving is whenever you generate cryptocurrency. It's what happens is you have a blockchain. Let's start at the very beginning. You have a blockchain, and this is a chain of series of transactions. This says who mined what. Let's start at the very top of the block. At the very beginning, it was 50 coins per person. I mean, per block mined. And each individual would be getting that full amount plus a transaction fee. So it's not just 50 reward, it is 50 plus whatever the fees were required to build that block. So at having this block that gets generated every 10 minutes or so, um, becomes halves. So instead of 50, you get 25. This happens at about every 4 years. At a rate of its hashing rate, which makes it completely harder to get that halved amount. So as the hash rate goes up, it makes it harder, but then the halving causes you to get less for your higher hard-earned hash rate. So you got to double your consistency of hashing every 4 years just to keep a consecutive income.
Okay, so for let's say the video game nerds in the audience here, it's like basically, say for example, you're in a game like World of Warcraft or something, and there's a level cap. So if you're fighting in the same area, your rewards that you get, your benefits that you get, are going to get lower and lower because your stats are getting higher and higher. Is basically kind of
Yeah,
what we're looking at.
thinking about if you get 100 points for every 10 kills, and then at 50, those points that you get become halves. So you would get 50 for every 10
And
kills.
then so forth and so on, unless you go to a
Yeah,
greater area.
exactly.
Yeah, so I think, and honestly, I don't know if I've ever heard it put in that type of model, but I think it covers it pretty well. If you think about
Well,
it.
mining is actually one of those things. It's all about chance. You have the same chance as a big mining factory as you would by yourself. It's chance just like that. But the problem is they have multiple machines. So that's actually the reason why I believe Satoshi Nakamoto actually left the crowd, because he's seen ASCII come in, and then he wanted it to be a free open market, and then you had big players come in and still up all the hash rate, and that's what he didn't like.
Now, I've been hearing and I've been looking into, because as you know, I got interested in this, and I know I'm late to the game, but then again, I wouldn't have the money in the area to really do large mining equipment and having to deal with the noise of it. But I've learned some stuff. I've looked into some things. I do know that there's some terminologies that some people get kind of confused on, such as CPU mining, GPU mining, or ASIC mining, storage mining, like my neighbor does, things like that. Is there any of them that are better than the other, that are affected differently, so forth?
All right, so they're all really tied behind an algorithm. So this algorithm determines the proof of concept. So there's other ones that are called proof of stake, which means you got to have the asset, you got to put the asset into a hold, and that hold generates a residual. Basically, every time you keep it in there, it's like putting bonds almost, but you can't cash out without getting the profit. So if you cash out early, yes, you just basically you don't get nothing from that. But that's just proof of stake. That means you're staking your actual asset. So it just depends on what your available resources are to help which type of asset. For example, there's another one that's going to be coming out that's called proof of propagation. This is the where bandwidth is actually being used as a mining. So this is actually going to be a new one that's coming out. That's probably the one that's going to be the easiest one to share, because it's not about how much storage you have, it's about being connected to the internet.
Which we already know from the current state of things, as Netflix, for example, not a sponsor, uh, is basically saying, yo, back up, slow down, drop to SD quality. The CDN networks are overtaxed because everybody's working from home and having to stay home. So, in a mining that's going to be bandwidth related, wouldn't that be the same thing?
It wouldn't be really about streaming like news people would do. It would be about holding data. Let's say, for example, this stream. What if it is saved and then put into an archive? But the archive is accessed through a content delivery network. So this content delivery network needs compensation for bandwidth, is basically where it's coming down to. So what at the end result is you can go get a 1 terabyte hard drive, and then what you could do is you could sell your bandwidth and the storage at the same time. So proof of propagation. So if someone wants to pay you for storing and sending the data, that's where the proof of propagation really holds its value, is allowing other people to rent your internet.
Okay. So But then that's two things there. You said it rent your internet, but you're also storing something.
Yes. So, like I said, the real value would be the bandwidth part. You still have to hold, at least in memory, the whatever you're holding for your bandwidth, because it has to get transferred somewhere else too.
Okay. So basically, the fastest memory, if you have something with a decent amount of memory that is a decent speed, as well as having a decent internet, and you would probably benefit from an SSD or an M2,
Yeah, so
right?
but for propagation, the whole idea is you hold a small part of information. There's another server that holds another small part of information, but when you access it, all those small parts come to you at the same time, and you rebuild the associated data block.
Okay. Now, going back real quick into the market, like for example, a lot of stuff is tied up in the gold standard or the oil standard or whatever. And of course, this is basically on the blockchain, right?
Hmm.
So, for example, I've been asked, or people have talked about it when I've asked or mentioned about cryptocurrency, that cryptocurrency is not real. It's not based on anything. And I hit them with, well, at one point in time, people traded seashells.
Yeah, we've traded bananas.
Yeah.
We've traded everything.
I
Um,
mean, people bought state off of beads to the Native Americans at one point. So,
but at the very beginning, what it really boiled down to was consuming energy.
yeah, which mining definitely does.
Yes, so that's actually the asset that you're using. You're basically consuming energy, taking money to build something. So you're paying already to build a block, and that block is supposed to compensate you for what you paid for. So this is what actually drives the value of Bitcoin. It's commodity human relation source based. Like, it's not about the goal, it's about having an asset that you could say this is what the value is of me and what I think it should be. So for example, if you think this one Bitcoin is worth $100,000 to you and it's under $100,000, buy it now. Buy one Bitcoin. $5,000, go buy it now. If it goes down to $4,000, $200, don't freak out. You would have bought it at $4,205. It would have went up, and you would have been super excited, and you would have sold. But the value of it would be to try to sell it for 100. So you would buy it and then forget about it. And then if you ever come back and see that, oh, I'm at $80,000 for one Bitcoin, that's when you're like, okay, time to hit my kids to college. Think about it as a long term if you're going to be dealing with as an investment, or if you need to quickly transfer from one person to another. So there's a lot of these coins out there that are different, that will say this one provides faster communication, or this one provides more security, or this one runs behind a VPN. There's all these different ones, but Bitcoin's been the hardest one to break down financially because it's actually tied to all those other ones. They trade towards that asset.
Yeah, as I've tried like Nice Hash before, and they have all the different miners that all are trying all the different current altcoins, but then they ultimately end up in Bitcoin.
Hmm.
So, um, and so for people who are still looking to get into it, you can use NiceHash, you can do GPU mining. However, as I have currently only one GPU, I have a mining specific GPU. It's an NVIDIA P106 100. I make a grand total of 22 cents in a 24-hour period if I'm lucky.
That's actually a lot.
That is
Congratulations.
a lot. But the thing is I don't ever get that. That's what it
Mm.
estimates it to be. I've seen because it does its processing in what was it every 4 hours or something like that. Does its thing,
Mm.
and the payouts are maybe 7 cents at most. I think at most I got 12, but that's before the amount went down.
Yeah, so NiceHash tries to calculate what the most profitable coin is that your GPU can handle. So the problem with that is you're not getting the asset, which could be 10 times more in 2 months.
Yeah.
So they're converting it for you right then and there. That's the issue I have with NiceHash.
Yeah, and a lot of the other ones, MinerGate and several things that I've taken a look at, seem like they do the same general concept. So for those people that do want to get into mining, a lot of people get hit with it's not worth it, it's not cost effective, and you're
It's
better to
cost
get
effective right now.
yeah, it's cost effective right now. Yeah,
We just went through basically having in the financial institutions. So if you think about it, anything that you mine right now is going to be worth twice as much in the next 2 years. Even though, think about it, they just brought in trillions of dollars from the Federal Reserves, stuff that's been locked up for hundreds of years, ever since we, became a country. And
well, and there's people
these
that debate about that stuff too. But anyway, sorry.
But yeah, they added all this money back into the economy. What is that going to do? It's going to inflate everything. A gallon of milk, $10. You're gonna see that in 5 years.
I think we're going to see that before that, honestly. But
Within 5 years, you're gonna see that.
yeah,
They keep trying to attack the stock market by trying to bail them out to make it look like an illusion.
yeah,
As we're not failing, we have your support is basically what they're saying, as in a trust thing. We have your support. But who's to say that they're not buying stocks too of all this? You know what I mean?
yeah.
They're
Well,
going in towards the private sector. That means that they're going to own the private sector pretty soon.
well, then you have, of course, the insider trading that just occurred too.
Yeah, all these governors started trading all their millions of dollars right after meetings, and then they're getting on TV saying everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
That's why Bitcoin is going to be such a great asset to hold, is because in the long term, you're going to see all this money go right into there. Even though everything took almost a 50% cut, Bitcoin's had the greatest return so far after this cut. But we're going to see another low. It's pretty soon. It's going to get deep because we're at the very beginning stages of the recession. And we've actually been warned last year. We're at the beginning stages of a recession, and then right happens every time people get warned is, hey, everything's great, it's going up. See, and then what happens?
Drops. Yeah,
You
just
know,
like in 2008.
yeah, exactly. So 2007, everything was going good. There was warning signs,
Yep.
and what happened? A year later, after the warning signs, we got into an oil war. I think was that what it was? Oil,
Uh, yeah, there was
Afghanistan, and stuff like that.
yeah, that was in 2011. We went from
It,
there.
yeah. So all that insider trading at the very beginning of that recession killed the market.
Yeah. So another concern that I've heard is, and I've seen several articles where somebody's like, such and such lost access to their wallet, and I know that when you can generate all these addresses and stuff, and they're secure because hey, if you lose your key, you can't get to it. Nobody can either. But that's also a concern to people because they're like, well, if I lose access to my wallet, there goes all my money or my
Well,
Bitcoin.
there's the whole concept of doing backups.
Yeah.
A password protected backup stored on multiple locations. If you really feel that vulnerable to an asset, you can back it up. There's not a worry in the world for a backup that's behind uh, you know, a 32 character password that nobody's ever going to guess within the next few hundred years.
Not unless you have a quantum computer.
Well, and then it would be pointless to attack one thing with a quantum computer, spending millions of dollars on probably $50.
Yeah, which you could just sell the quantum computer and make back more than that.
Exactly. So it's not really feasible for pricing. For
Okay,
for the
so
for what it's worth, it's not feasible.
there's the online, like for example, Cash App has the ability to hold Bitcoin, Coinbase, all these other places where you can actually have a wallet, and then there's your hardware wallet. So people know what's the benefit, what are they, can you cover all that?
Um, there's multiple types of backups you can do: paper wallet, hardware wallet. Stuff that's not tied into a physical internet connection. Um, However, there are risks in that. There's always vulnerabilities with anything that a human makes. You just have to. They just have to find them first. Sometimes it does get patched up really good and tight, and you can't get past it. But the best way that I found is a paper wallet. Uh, you can generate them on certain websites. I don't have one that I am a particular fan of. I always find a source code and then generate it physically on a closed network machine. Um, Even though that could be potentially bad too. So download the original Bitcoin client or whatever client that you have, create a wallet, and then do the backup option with that wallet. All of them have it, and then store it with a password on the cloud and on physical hardware, a flash drive, anywhere like that. You can copy a flash drive a few times. And if you forget your password to your cloud, you have your flash drive. If you lose your flash drive, you have password to the cloud.
Yeah, well, in
Just
that
don't lose
case,
both.
make sure to encrypt your file on the cloud though, because
Well,
as
yes,
yeah,
of course. Put it behind a password, or they even have hardware token devices to where you can encrypt with things like LastPass or something like that on your physical machine. You can encrypt regular data. You can do it double with a physical, um, hardware key.
yeah, you showed me that before. I'll
You
put a
can do
link
it with
down in
that.
the description as well. You have a referral link for that, don't you?
I do not.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I was gonna say if
you
you did, I'd drop it in the.
You can get them on Amazon. There's a bunch of them out there. Just do your research. Google, however, does have one too.
Oh, okay.
So it is called the Google Titan. It looks like that.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So yeah, it just um, comes with a USB and a NFC USB, Bluetooth NFC USB, and this one also USB too. So Google makes them. So that's probably one thing is you can not have a password on it, encrypt it, and then back it up or encrypt it with a hardware key, and then you'll still have a physical file that you have to decrypt with a hardware key. So there's a bunch of ways you can back it up. It's just storing it behind a password is the most common. Just don't use anything, you know, normal. Like password is not password.
Don't even lead it though. You can't even just do password with O's and at signs. It's still a password.
Yes, yes. The word
Um,
password is the most vulnerable password.
yeah. What was it? God, sex, password. What was that one from Hackers movie?
There's There was quite a few.
Yeah. So okay, and then one other thing on that crypto key, because I've had a couple. There's actually two parts. One part is it's a hardware key. It's secure. It has your thing. What's the way of backing that up?
All
Like
right.
if that key gets lost or destroyed.
All right, so that's the cool feature about it is you can't back it up.
Yeah, well, that's
So
also
say, but there's another key out there, and it is called Only Key, and this is what it looks like.
okay. That's the one. Yeah, that's the one you told me about.
Yeah. So what it has is this can do a paper backup. You can do a paper backup of this key, but it does not back up a few things of all aspects of the key because of the intent of the security. So, for example, if this key gets destroyed right here, you can't recover it. But the same technology is in this one that doesn't back up that part either. So, this could potentially not be halfway recoverable. But there is stuff in here that you can tie that is backupable. For example, the password to your security file. Um, Only key, if you do videos and look at it, they allow you to do stored passwords, physical keyboard typed passwords. Allows you to store up to 24 of them. So technically, in theory, you can store an entire wallet on this by breaking it up.
Okay.
Just a private key. That's all you really need. And then you can save the public key anywhere, but public key is nice to have to attach to.
Yeah.
But the private key is the most important because that allows you to sign your crypto to another person. But you can save that private key in normal character letters under base 64, and you can store it within the key under all 24 profiles. It's going to be a long time to recover all that, and also you can do it in any order you want. Like number 24 slot doesn't have to be number 12 slot, or you can do a combination. So that's one thing you can do in a great world of many possibilities of these security keys.
And then, okay, so then part two of it, as you mentioned, you have the Google key, right?
Yep.
Everybody, well, prior to current state of events, was concerned, very concerned about privacy and the fact that all these companies that, I mean, there's a whole video involved on that I was working with a friend of mine for security, but people signed the EULAs, they signed the agreement, there was all this other stuff, and they're now worried about these companies that are really like spying on them and things like that. So here you got a key made by Google, and people are talking about how Google and Facebook and things like this are tracking you. So
Hmm.
people then who don't understand the key technology, they will go and say, well, what stops Google from hacking that key?
Well, the all the code is open source. I can go physically download the code and inspect it for myself. This allows attackers, to really step up their game to try to attack this stuff. Because they have the source code, they know their vulnerabilities. But a lot of the hackers actually attack, control, consume, and then provide feedback towards the company to get more money from the whole vulnerability.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Yeah.
So even though they found the exploit, they used the exploit, and at the very end of the day, they fixed it because they didn't want their assets that they stole to be exploited.
Yeah. Let
So
me let me rob you, but then I'm going to protect what I robbed. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So that's how this game really works. The patch and everything on how they do all these security features becomes uh comes to me to where I can inspect it if I want to. I don't have any control over if I want it to be there, but if I find a vulnerability, I could be like, "Hey, look, I found something," and then they're gonna be like, "Okay, fix, fix, fix," and then the next person be like, "Oh, I found a problem with your fix," and then eventually it gets patched. And after the patch, then we become a secure community because that's what the whole world of open source is. So whenever I say Google open source something, it means they gave it to the community to inspect, secure, and expand, but they still own it.
Yeah. They own their core aspects of it. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's the whole. They own the patent.
Okay. And then something that my stepfather-in-law actually mentioned about is at the end of the day, going back to the state of stability of and value of cryptocurrency. If the internet was to die today, what is the value of cryptocurrency?
In theory, it would be worth nothing. But
Yeah.
then again, a solar flare come out and wipe out our power grid, causing nuclear meltdowns, causing everything else to be nothing too.
Yeah.
So it's all about flipping a coin, right? Everybody needs to either protect what they have and keep the world spinning, or if not, then we all fail if the internet fails because that's what we really rely upon to have the
Yeah.
world continue to rotate around us.
Well, I mean, and I was trying to explain to him also that, like, even the gold standard and our current U.S. currency, just using U.S., not globally, the U.S. currency technically is backed by wishes and prayers,
Well,
essentially.
yes, all currency is backed by faith.
Yeah.
Because what happened whenever they removed the dollar from the gold standard? Then that's exactly what happened. Basically, they turned the dollar into a Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like I said, I mean, stuff is not even backed by anything anymore. It used to be where the money was backed by gold, and then the money was backed by this. Money's not backed by much of anything anymore.
It's backed by the pretty much the faith in your government
Yeah.
to control the asset and its value.
Which, with the way things have been, makes me wonder why our dollar is still. Anyway, I don't want to get into too much of
Well,
politics.
why are we still paying $2 a gallon if a barrel of gallon is only worth 30 cents
Oh, the gas around here's
or
gone down.
$30?
Yeah.
Oh, it has.
Yeah.
Well, that's because nobody's driving that much anymore either.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I'm in Atlanta, so you know, so needless to say, the demand for it definitely has gone down, and I'm in an area where it's a big city, so it's really gone down. I mean, it's not too. I guess it's $1.96 right now. As last I looked at it. No, $1.89. Excuse me. So
But still 10% decrease of what it was.
yeah, because it was on its way up to being close to $4 not that long ago.
So the oil companies better be throwing in some money to help with this stay-at-home policy that we have going on.
No, I mean, don't you know that probably they're going to get a bailout?
The oil too?
I don't know for sure, but I mean they're bailing out everybody here.
Hey, I need a bailout.
Yeah.
The computer industry is definitely taking a hit, and I'm sure that they're going to be buying a whole bunch of iPhones next week,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
especially whenever all this coronavirus stops. It's just going to go back to normal. Everybody's going to be selfish again.
Oh, what do you mean again? They're doing it now.
Well, more selfish. At least they're helping the elderly, kinda. They're helping the homeless, kinda.
Kind
Giving them spots to live, to die in, make them feel better to die, I guess, as if that's what they're doing. They're not going to be able to hospitalize everybody.
Well,
So I
yeah.
guess they're trying to make everybody as comfortable as possible to go to sleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's a terrible thing to say, but it's all we can do is either help or or give people what they need to feel comfortable until all this washes over,
yeah.
washes out, Mr. Trump. But that's what's happening. We're seeing everybody uh in their selfish greed come together. It's still greedy now, as in financial markets, but at the end of the day, we're helping everybody relax, feel more comfortable as we get through this. That's the only thing we can do because we can't have all these hospitals,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, I mean, they have the hospitals. There was what was it? There was a hotel in Cobb County that basically was taken over for beds as well,
Hmm.
and parking garages and things like that. So what I love hearing and I get frustrated is everybody going, "Oh, well, this is not real," and it's da da da. I mean, yes, there is hysteria because it's an unknown and there is some stuff going on. But when you hear people going, "Oh, this is not real. This is not real. This is fake. This is made up by the government," blah 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 blah. I mean, it gets frustrating because yes, it's real. There is stuff going on, and it's really affecting a lot of people. I mean, one of my team members, his wife lost her job just because of this. She got indefinitely furloughed. I mean,
Furloughing.
yeah,
Hey, furloughing's where they're telling you that you have to work for me whenever you come back. Is that what that is? But I'm
furlough
not going
is
to pay you?
yeah. It's like you still have a job, but you're not employed. Yeah.
Well,
When I was a contractor at IBM, I had to actually, our team had thankfully the least amount, but we had furloughs as contractors all the time. It's like, yeah, you have a job when we have the money to bring you back, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of places that are cutting their workload and people that are not able to go. I mean, here's the sake of argument. This bug affects people who are older, mostly older, and people that are already having pre-existing medical condition are the ones who get the more severe things from what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I drove through McDonald's the other day, right? The cashier was an older guy because all of the younger kids decided to go and stay home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that is ridiculous to a point. It's ridiculous because that guy can't, basically, he can't afford to not go in, is most likely the reason why he's there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's really bad for the people that are elderly and that are sick because there's a large number of people who basically go, well, this only affects a small population. And it's like, yeah, I'm glad you're happy with 68,000 people or more getting sick and dying. Great.
Well, you could also respond back with, well, your parents are in that small population.
Yeah.
And then they don't think about that. Oh, my parents are not vulnerable at all.
Oh,
You
they're
know,
healthy.
yeah, they're healthy. They don't smoke. They're 70 years old. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
they get around, but they sure enough can't fight for their life. They get a huge upper respiratory disease like this.
Yeah.
You never know what the original outcome. My grandmother's like 90 something years old. Like, wow. But
Yeah.
I fear for her life. I can't go visit her,
I mean, they
just in
had,
case I'm a carrier. You never know who is.
yeah. I mean, because you can show, or you could be a carrier and not show symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
You
Or
could be sick, but haven't developed symptoms yet, you know?
you could have allergies,
Yeah.
and that could potentially worsen your symptoms or cause you to be falsified as symptoms.
Yeah. I mean, case in point for me, I'm 34 years old, right? So technically, I'm not in the danger risk. However, I have high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I have allergies. I have asthma. I have, you know, da 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 da. So I start getting ching 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 ching. So of course, with me and my fiance and my mother-in-law and my stepfather-in-law who lives here, there's always the fear of, and then my mom down in Florida, you know her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I know people who are potentially able to get sick, and I worry. But then I know people that and close personal people, friends and family who are like, "Oh, this is no big deal," and it just frustrates me.
Mm-hmm. And those actually are the people that are most vulnerable in spreading it.
Yeah. Well, and then of course you get people like down in Florida, you had everybody in West Palm Beach that were at the beach, and up here, drive by the gun range and it's packed.
Well, the gun range is kind of fun. You don't have to have any contact there.
Yeah.
You
Well, that's
know,
kind of what I was telling my fiance too. Is that you're in your own little spot.
yeah, you're definitely in your own, like, if all you gotta do is point a gun at somebody and they'll get out of your way.
Yeah, which is a sad thing in itself. But then the golf course was another one, which again, yeah, you can be separated, but you're all driving around in your little golf caddies with your friends, you
Yeah,
know?
that would be the problem, is close elbow to elbow contact, you know, and then touching the steering wheel after somebody else, after
Yeah.
they like rub their nose, you know.
And then of course most of the people that are out playing the golf course we passed by are older,
Well, if the older generation stays within their older generation, they had nothing to worry about.
unless one of them got as sick.
Yeah, well, by then they would probably get sick quicker because they're not able to fight it as fast.
True.
And you'll detect it quicker. It stops the spread a little bit faster. I don't know. It's a whole bunch of scenarios. They say between 2 to 14 days you'll show symptoms. Well, it's probably age related too. The younger you are, the longer it takes for you to show symptoms.
I was watching something that said that while it does have a what was it, a week to 2 week incubation period, and after 2 weeks, yeah, you if you don't show symptoms, you're probably fine. but you'll start to detect or notice some things within 4 to 5 days.
Hmm.
So,
And then we're in allergy season, so the people that are infected are staying at home, not infected, thinking that they are, and then they feel better. After 3 weeks, they go back out into town, then they get sick. So
yeah,
that's like a whole 6 weeks of them being sick or thinking that they're sick, and it just consumes more time from people's,
they need it to
social
be.
life.
Man, I can tell you, gets crazy out there.
Yeah, but this
Um,
is the world we're in today.
yeah. So to end this video on one other little cryptocurrency note is going back to that actually, what was I wanted to say? Oh, with the halving. I just thought about this. Say you had $1,000, say or Bitcoin. Say you had 1,000 US dollar versions of Bitcoin,
Hmm.
right? Halving hits. Do you have 500 or do you still have your 1,000?
You still have your 1,000.
Okay.
Because like I said, it's the people that are mining are the ones that are getting the less profit. So you know, if you had enough horsepower to mine 1 coin a day, and you're getting 12 and a half coin right now a day, and tomorrow halving happens. Well, what's going to happen is you're going to get 6 and a quarter.
Okay.
So you're spending, let's say, for example, $10,000 a day on electricity, and let's say $2,000 a month on uh, financial payments of your hardware, for example.
Yeah.
So you're making your 12 and a half back, and you're breaking even, right? This is where it's gonna, you're breaking even. So as you're breaking even, you're still saving whatever little bit you can get. Let's say you're making $300 after spending all that a day. You're making $300 a day after spending all that. Well, at the very end, if halving happens, you're going to be making the 150 a day. Actually, less. You're going to throw all that away. You're going to have to sell equipment. You're going to have to go get back, refinance all your loans for all your hardware. Your electricity is still going to be at 10,000, but you're going to be making 6,125.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, you're not making 150 anymore.
So if somebody wanted to get into the crypto world right now, you either have to mine or basically do a currency conversion from, say, take $1,000 and put it into an exchange. In this day and age, I think you've mentioned this to me before, but it's more beneficial for people to get into just putting it into the exchange,
Yes.
correct?
You'll actually see more income off of trading the asset versus mining the asset. Uh, Unless you know a really good hardware manufacturer that will build computer chips for you at dirt cheap.
Yeah,
That's the only catch. Is if you can find someone that will build a chip that does it better, then that's where you'll actually profit, especially if it consumes less power.
yeah. And then, of course, the other thing about the power aspect is there's a lot of people out there that basically say that mining is not green, it's damaging to the environment.
It highly is. It just depends on how much you're using. What was really happening is we're generating so much heat. The heat is the issue. So, for example, the last 100 years, we were at a very good average cool temperature. And within the last industrial age years, which is probably since the late 60s, early 70s, is the start of the global heating economic part of it. Is when we started getting more into fire plants, things that generated more heat. And all the technology is starting to spread for this is in the late 70s or around the 70s time. And then as we see that the world starts heating up, even by a fraction of a degree, it is still not cooling down like it used to be, like we're used to, based on historic records.
Okay. Yeah.
So yes, it is very damaging based on,
Then what's
well,
what's
they're
the
adding
answer
another
though?
layer of heat to the world. You know what I mean?
So what's the answer though? I mean, because that's a big big issue right there.
Well, eventually it's not going to be cost effective to mine. The hash rate will go down, and then you'll only see transaction fees from this. Um, it's you're not going to be able to afford to spend the electricity to mine it. Someone's going to get it to be able to. You have to buy this certain hardware because it's the most efficient. If you don't have it, you're not going to be able to affordably mine it for processing transactions.
Okay.
Hash rate's going to go down because it's not going to be affordable anymore. The trading aspect will still stay alive. This is why I say if you get into it now and trading on just consuming and holding the asset, at least you're doing a better benefit than mining for the green economics of it.
And then what's you got the mining aspect of it, and then something else that people can do is running a full node.
What that does really is it helps speed up the network and it helps verify transactions on the network, but that doesn't really help too much. Um, a full node is really for a person that would be taking a lot of transactions.
Okay.
Take like for example, if you're doing it, if you're sending 1,000 transactions and you're receiving 1,000 transactions an hour, a full node is definitely beneficial to have because you have all the checking and stuff right there in front of you. In order for it to verify the transactions, you can verify transactions a lot better for the full node. That's the only reason why it would help you is if you're a person that deals with transactions. But it
Okay.
doesn't benefit in being green or
Well,
any
yeah, yeah.
economical part of it.
And you don't get any money for running a node.
No, no, you're just. This is why proof of propagation is such a benefit because running a full node would allow you to sell your storage.
Yeah.
Instead of holding a blockchain full of stuff, you would do a transaction between somebody with information, and someone else would be creating that data for it to be transaction, and that person would be giving a key, and then it's a lot of technical stuff, but you would, in the sense, get a basically a vault. This vault's not attached to a blockchain. It just says what happened and who did what with the original payment from a previous vault. So it's like a vault with a vault with a vault instead of a blockchain. Um, the instead of like the blockchain idea where it's everything stored on a line, you just have a vault and you pass the vault around. And with the private key, it unlocks the vault and allows you to divide it up.
Okay. And then the one other thing that I saw, which we talked about, which was running a pool.
A pool is very, I don't know how regulated they are now,
Yeah.
um, or how trustworthy a pool could be. But it is a lot of work, a lot of bandwidth, a lot of upkeep. So,
And you still got to put money into it to get it started, from what I see too. Like,
just depends. Um, mining pools are you just, yeah, the only time you would put money really into it is to start building a hash rate for
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. If you wanted to start a pool from scratch, that's what I'm saying is you'd have to put money in, and it may be technically cheaper than buying the mining hardware. But then not only do you have to put that money in, but you also have to attract people to use you.
Exactly, because there's been a lot of bad pools out there that will get you to mine on their stuff, and at the very end of the day, they're not paying you for it,
Yeah,
or they're taking a huge percentage, or there's no support. So if there's an issue, you can't talk to nobody to fix it.
yeah, true. Or you have people that, oh, well, you have to use this one, so download this particular miner, and then it's malware or something.
Then your private key gets stolen, your password gets stolen. Not a lot of fun comes with that.
All right. Well, I do appreciate you for your time and getting this information out there. Um, like I said, if you have any referral links for the crypto keys or any other stuff, I'll be more than happy to put them down there in the description. And hey, if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, we can always, have Bradley come on back and do more videos. So, all right, man.
All right, sounds good. Have a great day, everybody.
See you later. Bye.